Welcome to Satsang.
Hello, Vishrant. Can you please talk about the only chance humanity has to survive?
Well, we've got to look at the reason why there's trouble, why humanity is destroying the atmosphere, why wars are being threatened, why terrorist acts are happening. We've got to look at the reasons, basic reasons why these are happening. And from my perspective, it is simply lower consciousness. People are operating out of lower consciousness rather than higher consciousness. Because if they were operating out of higher consciousness, they would be taking care of the planet. They would be more interested in building bridges than building tanks, submarines, and other weapons. As long as lower consciousness reigns in the halls of power, there's a problem, because lower consciousness dictates an us and a them. And really, there is only an us. We're on this little planet, all of us. But there's greed, there's power trips, there's lies, there's deception, there's all sorts of things going on that belong to the category of lower consciousness. And so my interest is in helping people raise their consciousness levels, because this is the only chance. But unfortunately, you can't do it en masse. You can only do it with those who are interested in raising their consciousness levels. And so that's what's attempted. If you raise your consciousness levels, you can't be involved in violence. You can't be involved in greed. You can't be involved in power tripping, because your consciousness levels dictate that that was ridiculous. As a matter of fact, more than likely, if your consciousness levels are high, you're involved in loving everybody, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because this is what happens when you raise your consciousness levels. You find love. And you find love for everybody, not just the people who are close to you, not just your family, but everybody. And so humanity has this opportunity to raise its consciousness levels at this time, because there's so much going on that is detrimental for the future of our children. But whether they'll do that or not, I don't know. It's up to you as an individual. Getting angry and protesting about the way things are, that doesn't help. That's just lower consciousness as well. People then want to know, well, how do we raise our consciousness levels? Well, it begins by watching your own mind, by witnessing your own mind. Because if you can see what you're up to, if you can see all your agendas, all your defense systems, all your programming, you can then see others. You can see the world. And you know that we're all the same. We're all the same. We've all got the same stuff. We look at people and we judge them, but the truth is, the judgment's probably wrong. But for the grace of God goes I, depending on what patterning or programming that person has. It's up to you as an individual, if you want to help the planet, to raise your consciousness levels. Not to get out there and get angry. That doesn't work. That's just adding more darkness to the darkness that's already here. Raise your consciousness levels. This is best. There's nothing better, actually. That's it. Any questions? Any statements? Any challenges to this teaching today?
The first question: do you think the human species has become more conscious in the last few decades?
Heck no. Look, I don't think so. I think there's a new age movement that thinks there's some kind of quickening or awakening around the planet, but I don't think so. It doesn't seem that way to me. There doesn't seem to be more light on this planet. There seems to be more darkness, if anything. We're seeing people on Facebook and other medias talking about waking up to what is, becoming more wise to what's going on around the world. But they're coming from a place of anger. They're coming from a place of closure. That's not higher consciousness, that's lower consciousness. Waking up has nothing to do with having some nasty dream and getting angry about it. Higher consciousness is very beautiful. You find a way to accept everyone and everything. And in that, there is peace.
If it's true that higher consciousness would help us win in the material world, would you say that politicians have higher consciousness to be able to get to the top?
I don't know any politicians, so I can't make a judgment call on that. That's not possible for me. I tend to keep away from politics. I don't have an interest in them. I have an interest in helping people wake up. That's about it.
The next question has been written by Stephen. Hello, Vishrant. This is Stephen. Given what you've said about needing to raise consciousness levels, how do we encourage people to want to do this?
Well, Stephen, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm talking about the subject. The positive side of raising consciousness levels is we have a beautiful planet. We have beautiful people sharing this planet with us. The downside of not raising the consciousness levels is it doesn't look good. It looks like the environment's going to get destroyed for humanity. It looks like there could be wars. It looks like there could be famines. It looks like there could be terrorism. This is all lower consciousness. This is not higher consciousness. The best you can do for the planet is raise your consciousness level. Because if you raise your consciousness levels, you become a light so others can see. That's the best you can do.
The next question is from Susha.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello, Susha.
Vishrant, what keeps me in lower consciousness is my need for being somebody. How can I deal with that?
So being a somebody is an ego-based reality for all people who are ego-based. They think they're a somebody. That somebody is made up of projection based on previous experience and belief systems. It's not real, but it seems very real. But it's not real. Take away your imagination and you as a somebody don't exist. You as an I don't exist. But what you can learn to do is put yourself aside for the benefit of others. Move into service of others. And in moving into service and putting yourself aside, there is less and less and less of you. And as a result of this less and less and less of you, your life is more beautiful. Selfless service is a beautiful way to live in this world. It is not beautiful to live in this world selfishly, but it is beautiful to live in this world in the way of the heart, as a giver, as a caretaker. This is lovely. Usually, this involves raising your consciousness levels, because selfishness belongs to lower consciousness, and selflessness belongs to higher consciousness.
Yeah, you've said this so many times, but it finally struck a chord. That's the perfect way for me to put myself aside.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be for people, though. You can put yourself aside for anything. It could be flowers, it could be animals, it could be anything. It's just the story of you is always a story of problems. And when we go into problem solving, we're going into lower consciousness again. We're going into dream.
Problem solving is part of my job, which is hard to put aside.
No, it's part of my job also, but I don't live there. When I need to problem solve, I problem solve. When I don't, my mind is silent. Unless you want to make problem solving every waking minute, and then it's a real problem, because that's what we learned to do at school, isn't it? We learned to problem solve so we could get good marks, so we could get a certificate of some kind, so we could get a good job. But do we really need to continue that until we die?
No, not really, not at all. Thank you, Vishrant. Thank you.
Like just as you're sitting here, just you're sitting here with me, is there any problems?
No.
I noticed that too. There's no problems. Unless you want to bring a problem into your mind, into your thoughts, and then you think it's real. But really, there's nothing happening.
That's true. Nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening.
Especially tuning into you, nothing is happening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susha.
The next question is from Neil.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello, Neil.
So I've noticed that there are many people today that are getting out of their religions and questioning their own belief systems that were instilled into them. So would you call that a sign for higher consciousness?
If they were getting into higher consciousness, yes, but are they getting into higher consciousness by dropping certain belief systems around religions? Are they actually getting into higher consciousness? I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
Okay. I've got another question. In the previous satsang that I attended, you mentioned that there is no free will and we operate based on our programming. But I've heard you say things like it's up to you or it's your choice. But how can I have a choice if there's no free will?
Okay. So I have to talk in a way where people understand me and people believe they have free will. And when you talk in a way where in a way where it doesn't sound like they have free will, they won't understand me. I've got to use the English language and I've got to use it in a way that is heard by people. And so I have to talk in a manner that people understand me. My world is a world of silence and stillness. I come to your world, which is the world of words and dream, to talk to you about freedom. But your world is a world of prison. The mind is a prison, the bars of which are made of fear. And I've come to talk to you about that. So I have to use your languaging and the way that you put words together for you to understand me, even though sometimes that might not be 100% correct. But I'm still stuck with the English language, which is an ego-based language. So it's difficult. We don't have any free will. That's not possible. You're running true to your patterning. You're running true to your programs. But you are getting influenced by what's being said, and that influence may change your patterning. But once again, the influence is coming from outside of you, not really inside of you. I'm playing with parts of you that may change things inside of you, but they were already there. They were already programmed into you. I'm just trying to tap into them. And so you'll go for freedom. So you'll go and do something to raise your consciousness levels. But once again, the programming is coming externally, in this case from me. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Mhm. All right. And one more question. Last time, someone asked if humans are the only beings that are capable of enlightenment, and in response to that, you mentioned that animals have the potential to be awakened when they become humans in their next life. So, do you believe in reincarnation?
Reincarnation is not a belief on my part, it's a knowing, because I remember hundreds of lives on this planet. And I remember them like I remember this life, very clearly. I started remembering when I was about 11 years old. And at that time, I was a Roman Catholic schoolboy, and it just didn't make sense to me. I discounted it really strongly, but it kept coming back over and over again, the same story about my previous life, the same memories, until I started to look at it more closely and realized, there is something in this. And then the other lives started to appear. And people think, oh, you remember all the good stuff. You remember how wonderful you were. No, you remember all the tragedy. You remember the sorrow. You remember the bloodshed. You remember all the traumatic events. That's what you remember. And in remembering that, I really did not want to do this here again.
Mhm. Right. And the forms in which we will be reincarnated, will they be forms of other life forms, or will they be only human forms?
I think that we can regress and we can improve. We can go back and we can improve. And so I think it's possible for people to regress back to animal form.
Mhm. Right. And one more question: are all enlightened individuals capable of leaving their bodies at their own will? And why do they do it if it's true?
I really don't know the answer to that question. I'm pretty sure if I wanted to die, I could die, but I don't know. We'll have to try it and see. Get back to me after I'm dead.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah. See, these questions won't help you much. You know, not really. They're just curiosity questions. Learn to surrender and get free. And you learn to accept, surrender by accepting life as it is. Learn to do that and get free. Practice acceptance and get free. Collecting knowledge, particularly this sort of superficial knowledge, won't help you much. It won't help you at all, really.
Mhm. Right. I will try my best.
As Yoda said, don't try, do.
Mhm. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Vishrant.
Thank you.
The next question has been written by Ritu. It feels like there are vested interests trying to keep humanity in lower consciousness to exploit humanity. Or is it a collective consciousness problem? And there seem to be less awake people like yourself.
So you've given me an alternative question, an alternative answer question. And the truth is, I don't know. People think that when you wake up, you know all these things. I don't know. I really don't know. The more I see, the more I realize I don't know. And this is one of those questions I don't know. Whether humanity is going to become more conscious or not, I don't know. Whether it's supposed to, I don't know. Whether it has in the past and it's gone backwards, I don't know. It's like, I just don't know. The reason people want to know is because they want to control things. And I don't have an interest in controlling things. And so I'm quite happy with, I don't know.
The next question is as follows. Scientists say that we're in great danger of destroying the environment we live in, so it would not be suitable for human life. How come we are not able to hear that warning and make significant change?
The people in power who have the power to change it don't want to hear it because it's expensive. It's that simple. It's about money. It's about greed. It's about power. They don't want to hear it because it's expensive. Very short-sighted view.
Why do our leaders serve power and not love?
To serve love, you have to be open, and you have to be wide open, really, to perceive love. I doubt very much whether our leaders are wide open. I'd say they're quite defended while pretending to be open. Well, they won't be perceiving much love. True love is perceived in openness, not in closure.
Why do people elect leaders that serve power and not love?
Because they want to. Because they don't know the difference themselves in a lot of cases. People put forward an idea of themselves which they promote on through the media, through advertising and whatever else, and people buy it because they're gullible. They buy it because they want to. From my understanding, politics is pretty ugly. People not meaning what they say and not saying what they mean a fair bit. To find someone who truly loves humanity would be rather rare. To find people who truly love, you have to find people who are truly open. And that in itself is a rarity, to find people who are truly open. People can say they love, but if they're closed, they probably aren't perceiving it. If they're defended, they're probably not perceiving it. That won't be happening. So we don't live in a society that promotes love. We live in a society that promotes success, power, money. But you as an individual can change. Only you as an individual can change. You can open up. You can start watching your mind. You can start witnessing your mind. You can practice the way of the heart. You can. Thinking that the whole planet should change, well, no. Yet how about you? Just you. You do it. That's best.
The next question is from Stephen.
Vishrant, good morning again.
Hello, Stephen.
Vishrant, I just wanted to say thank you. I think the last couple of sentences that you've given us are my message for today. I think it is up to us, from what I gather from you, it is up to us to become more aware. And I think that's enough for me today. So I'd like to just thank you for that. I think it's the best message that I've got from today so far. So I'd just like to thank you. I will leave now and go on working on awareness today. And I wish everybody else here also to be able to do the same.
Thank you, Stephen. You know, I never expect anyone to hear me, Stephen, so it's nice that you have.
Thank you, Vishrant.
Thank you.
Well.
The next question is as follows. I find it hard to not get righteous when I see people throwing plastic trash into nature or other harmful behaviours for the planet. How do you not get righteous about behaviours that are obviously wrong?
Well, what I do is I pick the trash up and put it in the bin. What's the point of getting righteous? What's the point? How does that help anyone? How does that help the consciousness levels on the planet? You want to help the planet, pick the trash up, put it in the bin. That works.
When trying to make the world a better place, how do you not get hopeless in front of so much impenetrable ignorance from people?
Hopelessness is a future projection. I don't have a great deal of interest in the future, really, particularly thinking about it. There's now, and now is really nice. Why entertain negativity? Why entertain anything of the future, really? There's just now. This is good enough. And the truth is, we can only ever live in the now. Anything that comes with regards to the future is a projection. It's not real. It's a dream. It's a nasty dream you're having, or it might be a nice dream, but it's a dream. There is only now. It's nice to live in the now. It is not nice to live in projections, whether they're hope or hopelessness, because it's all rubbish. There is only now.
A viewer from YouTube writes, my question is, what is the ultimate question, if this hasn't been asked?
The ultimate question is always the same question. Who am I? Asked to yourself. Who am I really? Because if you discover who you are, in other words, if awareness becomes aware of itself, beingness becomes aware of itself, you become a light so others may see. This is the ultimate question. Who am I? It is also the last question.
What do you mean by the last question?
Well, once you discover who you are, that's it. You're free. There's nothing more to know. It's over. People don't get that. They think, oh, I'll wake up and then I'll do this or I'll do that. No, you have no idea if you wake up, what's happened is you've given your life to truth And then truth will do what it wants with your life. You as an I drop. You're gone. People get this silly idea that they're going to wake up, then they're going to do something afterwards, as though there's somehow some continuance of the ego. No, it drops. The true you lives. Beingness lives. The false you drops. The dream drops. It's not like the dream wakes up. The I doesn't wake up. That's not possible. It doesn't wake up because it was never real in the first place. That's aware of the dream becomes aware of itself. That's enlightenment if it's ongoing.
The next question is, since human beings have been hunting and eating meat for thousands of years, do you think we have the right to kill animals?
Depends where your consciousness level's at, really. At some point, if your consciousness level goes up high enough, you love all things. You love everything. You don't have conditional love. You have unconditional love because you're open enough to support that. And in unconditional love, you can't really, or you won't really, that's a better way of putting it, be involved in any kind of cruelty to animals, whether it's killing them or anything else. And so at some point, you recognize that no animal put their hand up and said, please kill me and eat me. We actually have to murder them, basically, and steal their most valuable possession, which is their life, so we can eat them. And at some point, your consciousness levels go up high enough for you not to be wanting to be involved in that because you love them. And love dictates that you take care of everything and everyone.
The next question has been written by Utsa. Hi Vishrant. I notice that when I share with my friends, I only share my good pictures. It further increases the identification to this body. I've been seeing this since some time and accepted that too. I cannot find the underlying belief here. Can you please comment?
Well, there doesn't need to be a belief. You're looking for acceptance. And that's a primal imperative. It's a part of our survival mechanism to be accepted by our tribe. Because to not be accepted by our tribe, well, not so much anymore, but once upon a time it would have meant death. And so in wanting to show our best side, in wanting to show the pictures that are good, we're looking for acceptance. This doesn't demand belief systems. It's just a primal imperative. It is wonderful when you decide that it doesn't matter if people accept you or not, because then you can be free of all of this. And so you have a look at it. Have a look at yourself and your need for acceptance. What would you be like if you didn't have that need? If you made it okay for people to not accept you as well as accept you? And ultimately, what other people think of you is none of your business anyway. I got into this when I was pretty young. You know, if people accept me, that's great. If people don't accept me, that's equally great. I seriously don't care.
The next question. Do you think consciousness always finds a way to manifest in the universe?
Have no idea. I really don't know. Do I think? I'm not really big on thinking. I'm not really big on philosophizing. I like silence and I like stillness. It's really, really, really beautiful.
The next question is from Mabay.
Hello, Abay.
Hi, Vishrant. Vishrant, you said that we need not look for the acceptance of others. So in that process, we have to make ourselves okay to be lonely also.
Okay. Yep, that'll work. Okay to be non-acceptable. How's that? And when we're okay with not being acceptable, we can really play. People who are constantly going for the acceptance of others are constantly twisting themselves into knots to get that approval. They're not really free to just play. You give up trying to get other people's acceptance and you can play. Because it doesn't matter what people think of you then. You can be the fool. You can have fun.
Yes, to be seen as fool is another fear. Maybe because of that, lot of twisting I keep doing.
Yeah. If people don't like you, that's their problem, not yours. And if people do like you, that's also their problem, not yours.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, Vishrant. Thank you.
Your name, Abay, means fearless. To
Yes.
be okay with people not accepting you takes courage, Abay.
Mm. It's a very beautiful name you have given me. It always reminds me I have to be fearless.
That's exactly what it's for, to remind you to step through your fears and have a good life, a full life. Celebrate life.
Thank you very much, Vishrant.
Thank you.
Is it a problem to have fun at the expense of others sometimes?
Oh, what a question. Is it a problem to have fun at the expense of others? Life is such a joke. You know, just have a look in the mirror and you'll see one looking back at you. The things we do, the things we get up to. If you can't laugh at yourself and you can't have a laugh with other people, life is just too hard. It is such a joke, this whole world. Laugh as much as you can, as often as you can. It's best.
Did you ever have to practice not taking offense?
Yeah, I did. When I was learning about not hurting myself, I had to learn to not take offense, because the moment we take offense to anything, anyone, we are now hurting ourselves. And we are responsible for that hurt, not the other. The other is just doing what the other does. The other is the world. The world does what the world does. When we take offense, we are now hurting ourselves, because we are 100% responsible for our reaction.
The next question is from Utsa.
Hello, Itza.
Hello, Vish. Thanks for answering my question. After I had posted the question, I was thinking that, oh, this is not related to the topic. And I will, I had this fear of appearing fool, like as Abhay was mentioning. And I was just going to say to Tosh that don't include that question. In the meantime, you answered the question. So, yeah, I don't know why I have this fear of appearing fool in front of other people.
Because you won't be accepted if you appear as a fool. People won't accept you. It comes back to that survival mechanism of acceptance. The thing is, if you are willing to be seen as a fool, you can have an awful lot of fun. There's no fun in trying to be constantly serious and constantly accepted by others. There's no fun in that. But boy, is there fun when you're willing to be seen as the fool. You can really enjoy this life. You can celebrate it fully. I decided, gosh, 30 years ago to become God's fool. Great decision.
That's really good. And whenever I'm scared of something, I'm trying to come forward and, I'm trying to see like what my fears are. Like I'm scared of like too much of like, not too much, I'm scared of public speaking and other things, but I'm pushing myself and trying to overcome the fear and see it.
Yeah, step through it. Instead of obeying the fear, use courage and step through it. When we obey fear, we kind of lose. We learn about everything. By the time we're 20, we know what's dangerous, we know what's not dangerous. We don't really need fear to protect us anymore, but it continues on until the body dies, unless you wake up. And so you can obey it or not obey it, but if you obey it, you're not going to have much of a life, because fear will have you do nothing. It'll have you be safe all the time.
Yes. Thank you, Vish. Thanks a lot.
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, I love you so much, Vish. Thank you.
Love to you, my dear.
You're speaking of taking responsibility for your feelings. What is the experience of being hurt like when you take full responsibility for your own feelings?
Well, if you're taking responsibility for your feeling, there's been a touch, something's touched you, and there's been a pain. Now, when we don't take responsibility, we tend to blame. And now we're in a victim-orientated mode, and we've gone to blame, and now we're hurting ourselves. You have a look. Something happens. There's a touch. Quite often in human beings, there's an instant reaction of blame, turning ourselves into a victim of somebody or something. Not required. Just allow yourself to have the touch. Stop reacting. Allow yourself to own the touch. Be responsible. Be mature. Any time that we're blaming others for how we feel, we're being immature because we make ourselves feel. Nobody can make me feel but me. People may do things I don't like, I don't agree with, may be damaging even, but only I can make me feel. And I'm responsible for that.
Does the blame always occur in the form of a mental talk or chatter, or can it be something pre-verbal or energetic?
Yeah, it can be an instantaneous reaction, like anger, for instance, say, it can be instantaneous. But if we truly dissect anger, we find that anger is a reaction that stops us from feeling something. And so someone does something, it touches, anger arises. In the anger, we don't have to feel the touch so much because we've been empowered by the anger, which is supported by blame. Without blame, anger can't continue. Blame is the fuel that anger needs to survive. The moment we remove blame and take responsibility for ourselves, anger dies. So yeah, there can be an instant reaction. At some point that closes down too as consciousness levels rise. Instead of reacting, you're actually just a touch, and you're with the touch. You're not reacting anymore. You're not going to blame anymore. But that takes higher consciousness. That takes practice.
So in the removal of the blaming, pattern of blaming, does that mean that we'll be feeling the touches more and more?
Probably. Particularly if you're wounded, you're carrying wounding from your past, the touches are going to be hard. That's one of the reasons it's such a great idea to heal the wounds of your heart by allowing yourself to feel them when they do get triggered, instead of finding a way to avoid that feeling. If all we do is avoid the feelings when we get touched by life, we just have to spend our whole life avoiding. How about being tenderly okay with whatever appears, always, without going to blame, without reaction? To be tenderly okay with everything that appears. This will heal you. This is the way.
The next question is as follows. Is it enough to have leaders that serve love? Or would our entire population need to start to serve love to save humanity?
Why don't you serve love and see where it takes you? Worrying about what other people are going to do or not going to do isn't going to solve any problems. Why don't you serve love and see where that takes you? Make a difference yourself. Stop relying on other people to make a difference, and you make a difference. That's best.
How come so few people have heart on this planet?
I think everyone's capable of love. It's just that most people are pretty closed. And if you're closed, it's very hard to perceive love. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that caring and gentleness and kindness are love, when they're really aspects of the mind. When the mind is affected by love, those aspects do tend to come out, but not necessarily with love, because people can learn and have patterns of kindness, caring, gentleness. They can have them, and then they think that's love, but not necessarily. True love occurs in openness. When you're wide open, you can perceive love. In the meantime, your mind can pretend to be love, can pretend to love, can pretend. Mind's really capable of lots of sorts of pretense. It can be capable of silence, pretending to be silent, pretending to be love. It's the imagination of the mind is brilliant. The only difference between that and the real deal is true silence never gets stale. True love never gets stale. It's always fresh. It's always beautiful. And it's always lovely.
Is going for enlightenment a way to save humanity?
Heck yeah. Yeah, sacrifice yourself for humanity. That's the shot. Because in enlightenment, the mind needs to surrender unconditionally. You surrender your life so others may see. That's brilliant. That's a good idea. Yeah, why not? There's no such thing as selfish enlightenment. People, you don't wake up as an eye and stay awake. That's not possible. Awakening occurs and the eye drops. You want to sacrifice your life. You want to learn unconditional surrender and practice it. Practice it so others may see. That's a brilliant way to go. That's the way of the heart.
Do you ever get a sense of helplessness because you can only do so much within your sphere of influence?
I don't deal in helplessness or hopelessness. They're mind trips. I'm just not interested. What is what is. And it's here now. I have no interest in future projections. What is what is. And from myself, it's all okay. Everything is okay as it is. Matter of fact, more than that, it's perfect. Perfection upon perfection upon perfection. Now, if you want to understand that statement, find yourself as truth and you'll see it clearly.
We were talking before about feeling the touches. Is there ever a point where nothing touches? Or there's no more touch?
I haven't felt a great deal of touch for a long time. So I don't know the answer to that. There's no rejection of touches. It's just detachment, really, from everything. It's part of the deal. Awareness becomes aware of itself. The mind is very detached from everything. It's just how it is. Most of the time I spend in silent bliss. So I recommend Enlightenment to all my friends. It's brilliant. There's nothing better to go for on this plane as a human being. Go for freedom. Go for enlightenment. Go for higher consciousness. Everything else is just repetitive. You've done it so many times before. Go for freedom. Raise your consciousness levels. That's best. There's nothing better. Everybody here that you know who's ego-based is imprisoned and they're suffering, and they will suffer till they die, and then they will do it again. Get free. Go for enlightenment. Go for higher consciousness. Give it your totality. This is the best you can do for you and the best you can do for everybody you know. Thank you for Satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here today.